Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Hello and welcome. I'm Phil McKinney. This week, we are reaching deep into the archive and bringing you one of our most downloaded shows. Enjoy. This topic for today, though, is one that I have touched on in a variety of different ways over the many years. I think it was back in, 2015, 2016. I wrote a blog post over at philmckinney.com on the difference between innovation mentoring and innovation coaching. Yes, there is a difference. And that is what today's topic is going to be on. I'm going to do a deep dive. We're going to spend the entire show today talking about innovation coaching and innovation mentoring. But before we jump into that subject, what I would ask you to do is to subscribe. This is just one of the many shows over the 16 years that we've been doing this show that you can go back and learn and apply and hopefully improve your ability to be successful in whatever innovation, whatever creative endeavors you are focused on. So hit that subscribe to the show. Find us over on the podcast side. We are also on nationally syndicated radio, so you can hear us on iHeart and Spotify and all of those, both on the radio station and as a podcast. So lots of options to get access to the content that we produce here free of charge to you via the support that we get from sponsors, but also the support we get from listeners like you. And the way you can support us is simply to tell others about the show. So without any further ado, let's jump into today's content. So today's content is on innovation coaching and innovation mentoring. It has been a topic that I get a lot of questions about. People reach out to me. And in some rare cases, I actually take on innovation coaching and innovation mentoring roles with individuals and organizations. And I've done this over the years. It's a way for me to pay it forward, or maybe somebody that I know and have known for a very long length of time, or it's an interesting area, an area that doesn't cause any kind of conflict of interest with my day-to-day job or my current roles and responsibilities. And it's in an area that, I just find intellectually curious for me. So I've done a lot of innovation coaching and a lot of innovation mentoring in the past. I don't do much of it now today, but what I wanted to share with you is what is innovation coaching and what is innovation mentoring. Now, in many cases, people are confused. They're confused about what is coaching and what is mentoring and what's the innovation elements of each of those. And that causes confusion to the point where, in many cases, people don't understand the difference. They don't understand that there actually is a difference. They're not the same. There is a difference between innovation coaching and innovation mentoring. They are not the same. And in some cases, people use the term interchangeably. They'll say coaching, mentoring, coaching/mentoring. Oh, I'm a coach and a mentor. I'm a mentor and a coach. Well, it's two different things. And you need to understand what it is you need if you're looking for a coach or a mentor, or if you want to become an innovation coach and an innovation mentor. What are the skills? What are the services that you need to provide, depending on if a client's looking for innovation coaching or innovation mentoring? Now, as I said, there's a lot of differences, between the two. So first off, we're going to jump right in and we're going to talk about coaching. What do we mean by coaching? Is probably the most common activity with regards to innovation. If you are looking for help, you're looking for that coach. And in fact, if you look at coaching and mentoring in general, there's been some studies. It's in the top five, two of the top five most popular jobs out there. There are more coaches, there are more mentors, and again, they get confused because they use the exact same term when they define it. When they say coaching slash mentoring is in the top 5 of new jobs. Everybody wants to become a coach, everybody wants to become a mentor. So if you're in that bucket, you're going to learn something today. If you are looking for coaching, you need help, you're looking for a mentor, this show is also for you. Let's jump in. Coaching. What do we mean by innovation coaching? So, what do I mean by innovation coaching is it's kind of like sports coach. You know, there's on a baseball team, there are things like a pitching coach that just works with the pitcher to improve their pitching, get that fastball, get more strikes, how to do strategy around pitching. When you say you want innovation coaching, that's what you're really talking about. It's about a specific area or area of improvement. Now, a good innovation coach will offer clear directives and suggestions for improvement based on some kind of an assessment of the needs. So, what are your needs? You need improvement in pitching? Do you need an improvement in generating more ideas? Do you need help in ranking and identifying the best ideas? Do you need help in actually creating a pitch to senior management so you can get funding? That is what an innovation coach does. Innovation coaching tends to be limited in duration, but it's important that it has with measurable and tangible improvements. Coaching can be, for an individual, a team, a project, or the entire organization. And coaching sessions are structured and have a specific durations, and fees for coaching can come from an individual or from an employer. Now, let's go back through these in a little bit more detail. So, they offer a clear set of directives and suggestions. So, in an area that you need help with regards to your innovation efforts on your team or your organization, an innovation coach should be able to come in and do an assessment and tell you this is the area where you are challenged. Now, you may already have something in mind, but I would actually ask the innovation coach to help put that together. See if there's agreement with where you think the issue is, where they think the issue is, and how they can help you. And again, it's that assessment which gives you another pair of eyes, but also laying out a plan to help you achieve success. If your team's not delivering, if you are seeing that there's a certain area of challenge, that's where coaching comes in. It's limited duration. It can be anything from a few weeks to a few months. I wouldn't go much more than 6 months. If you're going beyond that, then maybe, you got more fundamental issues and you just step back and really think about it. So an innovation coach is limited in duration, but it has measurable and tangible improvements. We've got 10 ideas. We can't get them through the funnel. Coach signs on. You and the coach agree that success is getting 5 of those ideas through the funnel, helping them create pitches to get funding. That's coaching, showing them how to do it. It isn't about the coach doing the work. The coach is about helping you and your team and your organization learn how to do it, coaching them through. A pitching coach does not go onto the mound and pitch in a game. He helps the pitcher get better so they can stand on the mound and they can pitch. And again, coaching can be for the individual, it can be for a team, it can be for a specific project, or it can be the entire organization. And again, coaching sessions are structured and have a very specific set of durations. So, for instance, when I'm coaching somebody or coaching a team or whatever, it's usually a weekly meeting or an every other week meeting for 1 to 2 hours each session. And you work it like clockwork. So it's every other week for 2 hours, every other week, 2 hours. And you just work it. Because that then sets the pace, it sets the expectation. You review what was talked about, you set the goal for the discussion in 2 weeks. You get together in 2 weeks. How did they do? Are they getting there? Where's their frustrations at? What advice can you provide them? Fees for coaching can come from the individual. I've been coaching individuals where they pay the coaching fees, and I've had employers, companies fund me to coach teams or individuals as part of the coaching effort. So both approaches work. So it's either the individual or the employer. So coaching again is the most common help that organizations seek out. It's not a consultant coming in and doing the work. Coaching is coming in and helping you get and learn the experiences so that you can do the work yourself. So you don't become dependent on the coach for your organization. So innovation mentoring is different than innovation coaching, as we've said already. They are not the same. Coaching does not equal mentoring. We talked about coaching. What do we say? Coaching is around short-term duration, very specific skill sets, clearly measurable, clearly tangible results. What do we mean by mentoring? Well, a mentoring is the area where it's less specific and therefore it's less tangible. It's looking at the big picture, such as your overall career. Your innovation mentor becomes a trusted advisor that crosses personal and professional lines. They may be with you for many, many years. Mentors help you craft broader goals, along with the skills and experiences to achieve them. What you're looking for in the form of a mentor, somebody who has achieved innovation success in their career, and you want to learn from their experience. What did they learn through this long career of success, and how is it you can apply it to yourself? It's most likely focused on the individual, but sometimes it can be used for teams focused on innovation. I've done long term mentoring for innovation teams, and it's been quite successful. It's a lot more work on the mentor because you have to look at each individual of the team and help and craft a plan for each team member. It's not about solving the team issues, it's about helping each individual on that team to find that success and that long term objective for them in their role in innovation. Sessions are less formal and on an as needed basis. It's kind of a call when you need help, kind of, or, specific challenges, or, maybe you get together face to face a couple times a year for 3 or 4 days at some form of a remote location. Fees for mentoring most likely come from the individual. Why? Because a mentoring role, a good, successful mentoring role, lasts for many, many years across multiple jobs and across many companies. So you may have the same mentor, but you're going to be doing it across 2 or 3 companies. So most likely, the fees for the mentoring comes from the individual. I've had a rare case where an employer picked up the mentoring fees, but in most cases, it is the individual. And in some rare cases, there may be no fee required. Maybe it's a former boss or a former somebody that you have a relationship with, and you're looking for a mentoring role, but maybe not quite as intense. So maybe you're only calling them, 2 or 3 times a year type of thing, versus you're wanting to have a monthly conversation with them. So depending on the amount of need you have and how much interaction you want, don't expect the mentoring to be free just simply because mentors typically do it out of the goodness of their heart. If you are wanting a higher level of mentoring where you want a very specific high level of engagement, you got to expect that you're going to have to, compensate the person for the time and the effort that they're putting into it. Now, again, some rare cases, people will mentor for free, and that's great. And some people do it in their retirement. It's a way to help and pay it forward, give back, whatever term you want to use. So let's go back through these one more time. It's less specific and less tangible. It's not about, I got to get these 2 ideas through the process, or our ranking process just is not working. Help us craft a new ranking process. That's coaching. We're talking about mentoring. So it's less specific, therefore less tangible. It looks at the big picture, such as your overall career. Where do you want to be in 3, 5, 10, 15 years? Do you want to be a chief innovation officer at a Fortune 100 company? Do you want to eventually start your own innovation consulting practice? Do you want to open up your own innovation lab where you're inventing new products and services and launching them out? You want to be the next IDEO or DECA Research or one of those. You and a mentor is a trusted advisor. It takes time. These relationships to build up for innovation mentoring are not something that just happen overnight. You have to commit, they have to commit. You got to build a certain level of trust, and that means transparency. You need to be transparent with your mentor on where your struggles are at, both personally and professionally. They can't mentor you if they don't understand both sides. Same way, you want a mentor who's willing to share with you their failings, their struggles, and how they got around that, and how they were able to work through it, because that's part of what you're wanting to learn is through somebody else's experience and the frustrations they had, and how did they achieve the success that they got. Um, the mentor helps you craft broad goals. What are your goals? Well, I want to be a chief innovation officer at Facebook a year from now, and you've been out of college for 5 years. That's not going to happen, right? So the mentor's going to say, well, let's think about this in steps. What steps do we need to get to that goal, and what experiences, what industries, what companies should you be looking at to kind of help build that experience so that you can get that role? It's most likely focused on the individual, but sometimes it is, teams. And I've done both, and both have worked. But I will tell you, mentoring a team is a lot harder. Sessions are less formal. They're on an as needed. I've got people that I'm mentoring now where they just call me when needed. Bob Davis, who was my mentor in my first job when I was hired on at Deltek, he still lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and I can drop him an email or just get his advice on some stuff. He's got very, very deep, broad experience. Plus, we've been together since 83, 84. So we've been together as him as my mentor for quite some time. And then the fees for mentoring. In some cases, mentoring can be a monthly retainer of a certain, amount. And that just ensures that also that if you're paying a mentor that you're committed. This isn't if it's free, then you kind of show up, you don't show up, you kind of prepare, you don't prepare. Mentors typically will look for fees in order to make sure you are committed. And it's painful in some cases, and you don't want to miss a session, you don't want to take it seriously. That's where the fees tend to come in. So we've talked about innovation coaching and innovation mentoring. What we're going to do in the next section here is we're going to go through some scenarios and have you figure out when would you use coaching and when would you use mentoring. We've been talking about coaching and mentoring. Now, I would hope that through what we've covered already, that you kind of got that grasp between what is the difference. However, the best way that I can make sure that what I've shared with you is as clear as mud is to walk through some scenarios and have you pick, would you call it an innovation coach, or would you call would this be for innovation mentoring? The problem, I'm going to give you a scenario. What's this definition of this problem? And which would you call for? Which service would be the best one to help you solve this issue? Is this an innovation coaching opportunity or an innovation mentoring opportunity? Also, if you are wanting to be or you already are marketing yourself as an innovation coach or innovation mentor, understanding these scenarios and understanding the services that you would match to each one of these, critically important. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first scenario. So first scenario, your team is struggling to create a pitch for an idea to secure funding from your organization. So you've gone through the whole process. You've identified this really great, hot idea. The problem is how do you create the pitch? What's the best way to structure that pitch in order to secure the funding? How do you pull that together? How do you make that pitch work for that idea and for your thinking style within your leadership and how CEOs think or how your CFO will evaluate this? What is the best way to solve this? Is it innovation coaching or is it innovation mentoring? Now, take a look at this. It's a clearly defined deliverable, right? It's about a pitch for a specific idea. It is limited duration, right? Let's get this pitch done and go secure the funding. It's tangible. Were you successful in getting the funding or not getting the funding, right? So in this case, in scenario one here, your team is struggling to create a pitch for an idea to secure funding from your organization. Would you go and find yourself an innovation coach, or would you go for an innovation mentor? The answer is this is an innovation coach. Coaches around a specific. You want to find a coach in this case who has a great track record at helping teams create pitches, not just pretty slides. This is about the pitch. This is about strategic storytelling. This is about adapting the story to the target audience, your CEO, your CFO, your boss. How are they going to help you create the pitch in order to get funding for your idea? This is an innovation coach idea. This is where an innovation coach can be hugely valuable and worth their weight in gold. There's not a lot of innovation coaches that have a lot of experience in doing really top-notch innovation pitches so that you can secure revenue. So, and if you're looking to have an innovation coach help you to create a pitch and you're looking for venture dollars, that also works in this scenario. But however, just be honest with yourself. Don't ask for an innovation coach to do it for free or do it on the promise that if their pitch generates funding for you, that then they get paid. Pay them for the work they're doing. That shows you commitment to them and that you're going to follow through because you're going to push hard to get that funding, to get that money in, since you've already paid some of that money out. I can't tell you how many times people have come to me to ask for help to pitch out, help them craft a pitch in order to secure venture dollars, but not willing to pay for the team, my team's work in order to help them go do that. So don't do that, please. Scenario 2. Your CEO has asked for you to develop innovation leaders from within your existing staff. Your organization has stepped up and said, we want to become more innovative. We need leaders to help lead this effort across the organization. And you have been tagged to work within your existing staff as part of their professional development. So how do you build up innovation leaders so that they can be broadly used to drive the broad innovation capabilities, agenda items, innovation across the entire organization? So they could be individual leaders within different departments. But you got tasked to develop those innovation leaders. Is that innovation coaching or is that innovation mentoring? This is a longer term goal. It's not as tangible. It's a broad set of longer range objectives for these individuals. So which is it? Innovation coaching or innovation mentoring? This is an innovation mentoring role, and this is innovation mentoring a team. You will put together these individual people that you've identified to be leaders. They would help you craft and understand each individual. This mentor would work with each of those people along with you as a leader of leaders in order to build long term their skill sets, their capabilities, giving them experiences, maybe by rotation, This is an innovation mentoring opportunity. Scenario number 3, your team is running up against internal and external innovation antibodies. These are the naysayers. Oh, we've tried that before. That'll never work. I'm the expert, blah, blah, whatever. These are the antibodies, and you need help in crafting a strategy to win the organization over to supporting the idea. So you've got your funding, you're trying to get something done, but you've got this broad negative reaction coming from the organization in the form of innovation antibodies. And you need to craft a strategy to get these innovation antibodies to support the idea that you're trying to push through the organization. So, which is it? Is it innovation coaching or is this innovation mentoring? Again, it's about internal and external innovation antibodies. You need help crafting the strategy because you need to win the organization over to support this idea. This is an innovation coaching opportunity. Tends to be limited in duration. It's clearly tangible, right? It's around a specific skill. You need a coach, a strategy coach to deal with antibodies. That's a specific skill, like a pitching coach for baseball. That's a specific skill set, right? Just not a generic innovation coach. You want an innovation coach who can help you deal with the innovation antibodies. So this is innovation coaching. Scenario 4. You have decided that your future career success will come from improving your innovation leadership abilities and skills. This is you personally. You've been listening to podcasts like Killer Innovations. You've been reading books like Beyond the Obvious and other great innovation books that are out there. And you now have kind of, bought in and you want to make a career out of being in this space of innovation. You want to become a chief innovation officer eventually, or you want to hang out your shingle to be an innovation consultant, a coach, a mentor, whatever skill set best matches your abilities. So you've decided your future career success. So is that innovation coaching or innovation mentoring? This is an innovation mentoring. This is a textbook case of innovation mentoring. It's about helping you establish that long range career goals. What experiences do you need to make sure you have? And you do that by talking to your boss and saying, hey, I'd like to take on this new role. Working with your mentor, identify that, and then go pitch your boss so that you can get those experiences to put you in the best possible position to have a highly successful career in the realm of innovation and creativity. This is the textbook case of innovation mentoring. So we've talked through 4 scenarios, and those 4 scenarios hopefully give you a little bit of context on whether you are looking for an innovation coach or an innovation mentor. And they're different. Just as we've talked through this all in the earlier sections. As we've been talking today, there is a difference between coaching and mentoring. Coaching is the activity that is probably most well known and most popular. It's about solving very specific issues. Many organizations will hire a coach for an executive where there may be some form of skill gap. Skill gap could be things in the form of executive presence, communication skills and styles, um, deliverables, meaning they have a hard time, executive functioning skills of calendaring and commitments and deliverables and statusing, things that leaders need to make sure that they've got a really good handle of. Executive functioning skills is one of those areas that I see a lot of people struggle with. That is coaching. Mentoring is around that career advice. It's around that long range career advice. Now, in my case, personally, I had my first mentor in the form of Bob Davis, who was the person who hired me into what I would call my first real job at Deltek, which I've talked about in a previous show here in the last couple of weeks, I guess. And Bob was the person who hired me, brought me in, put me into my first management role. I had never managed anybody in my life until Bob put me in as the manager at Deltek. And Deltek was a division of Prentice-Hall Publishing, large book publisher, and Deltek was 300 employees in total, and we were in this subsidiary called Deltek Microsystems. Bob put me in that. Now, Bob said, "Hey, you can be a great software engineer," and that was my focus. Software, computer graphics, graphics animation was kind of my focus area. And he says, "You can go really deep on the technology side, but," and he, as my mentor, expressed and said, "Look, I think you've got broader skills than just being a great software engineer. And if that is something of interest for you, then I'm willing to mentor you, but that's going to require some work on your part." And that included, you know, evenings, weekends, taking additional training courses that Bob recommended. It's where I got hooked on Earl Nightingale and his audio cassette tapes back then, about personal development and career success. And all of that was outside of work hours because I still had to deliver. And then Bob put me on a career rotation. I spent 6 months in finance, 6 months in marketing, 6 months in the advertising group, 6 months in sales, IT. I rotated through every job function. And that foundation was by far the best thing that ever helped my career. In fact, I ended up going with Bob to 3 companies. He hired me at Deltek. He became vice president at Individual Software. I followed him there. And then Bob and his partner, Roxy, they started a company called Corporate Resources in Silicon Valley, and I went there. So I went to 3 different companies with my mentor. And then afterwards, after I spun out and went on my own career path, it was probably 2, 3 times a year I would reach out to Bob and get that advice. And Bob helped me think through about what was my long-term goals, and then what other kinds of experiences I should keep my eyes open for. And if they open up those opportunities, I should jump on those that provided those skill sets. It wasn't about, do this, do this, do this. It was about, here are some of those skills you need to have to be a successful leader, to ultimately be a CEO, to ultimately be a CTO at a Fortune company. And to get there, you need to have these experiences. And when these experiences present themselves, that may mean changing companies, doing something, volunteering, even though you may not know how to do it, jump in. By having that conversation and having that roadmap, that's what allowed me to have my career success, was through the mentoring. Now, I do both coaching and mentoring. I've done small companies all the way up to Fortune 10 companies, coaching in the innovation, maybe the chief innovation officer, short term, help around a specific project, give them my years of experience and hopefully help them. And then mentoring. I mentor CEOs and CTOs and chief innovation officers. And those mentoring relationships, in some cases, are 3, 4, 5. Some of them are 6, 7 years long, type of mentoring relationships. So understand what you're looking for and what best way to help you achieve both success in your current role and success long term in your career. Now, one of the skill sets you need to have if you want to be an innovation leader is how to facilitate great idea generation sessions. The economy, the innovation economy, is all around the generation of ideas. So I would suggest you consider taking the Disruptive Ideation Workshop. It's a workshop that is taught by the Innovators Network. You can hop on over to disruptiveideation.com. This workshop is all based on the FIRE framework, focus, ideation, ranking, execution, that I talked about here, and I've talked about here for the last 16 years of this show, plus in my book. The Innovators Network has taken that and created this Disruptive Ideation Workshop. So disruptiveideation.com. Check that out. That would be one of those skill sets, one of those investments long term for your career success. Again, one favor I would ask is help spread the word of the show. Let other people know about this content. If there was something in today's episode that you found very useful, share it with somebody. You can grab the link at the bottom of the show notes over at killerinnovations.com. Just right click it, copy the URL, and you can forward the URL to any and everybody. That's the direct URL to the audio file. So they don't need to go to a web page or anything like that. They can literally get the audio file directly. And that's an easy way for you to share that content with other people. So, and again, it helps us meet the objective of spreading the word and me satisfying the direction that I got from my mentor, which is I can't pay back all the work he did in my career. I can only pay it forward. And my way of paying it forward is having work in producing this content now for over 17 years and making that content freely available to any and all who might find it beneficial and insightful as you are working on your own journey around innovation and creativity. And with that, we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.